the question is that enough? Is that enough to be able to distinguish the awareness from these, what seem to be automatic responses, our patterns? We still have our patterns, don't we? We still have our internalized view of the world that comes from our personal experience. We still have all that internalized experience. And within that internalized experience, we still have our internal consideration regarding that and our external consideration, how that becomes our worldview onto the world. So we still have that, don't we? You know, we're still under the siege of reaction, and this is what this is where we feel, in the beginning, we feel kind of at the mercy, you know, wishing these reactions wouldn't sabotage us, you know, wish these reactions would not, or for this fear to go away, this fear or this overreaction, this overthinking, overfeeling. Will it go away? Because this awareness is so nice, you see. This awareness is so nice. If I relax my body and turn inward, I can distinguish awareness from my forms. And the more I rest as awareness, the more I rest and become still, the more these forms become still. And suddenly there's a semblance of peace, you see. Because I can distinguish the higher power of awareness to what appears within it, you see, what appears within it. This is just the beginning, and this is a wonderful, wonderful beginning. Wonderful. I am. So what do we have? We now have a way out. We've been shown the door. This is the doorway. This is the doorway. So again, finding the doorway, finding the way out. I said this before, I often quote this, but St. John of the Cross, in his poem, The Dark Night of the Soul, he explains this process, because that's what the poems do. It explains the process of enlightenment from the beginning. And in the beginning, he says, at night when the house is still, I left by a secret door. I left the house by a secret door. And the secret door he's talking about is awareness. It's the way out. And it's just the first stage. It's the way out. Right? Because awareness, let's look at this. Awareness is not defined by the content that appears in it. If it's not defined by the content, because it remains permanent, it's not subject to thought, emotion for its definition. It's not up and down. This beginning is always permanent. When we learn to distinguish awareness from the content or ourselves, our person, our body, our mind, and our person. It's just a witness. Awareness is always witnessing. It bears no characteristic. So this is the way out. This is the higher power to you, to what appears as you. This is a higher power to what appears as you. And why? Why is it the higher power? It's very simple. It's a higher power because this awareness is transcendent of you. What does transcendent mean? It means it doesn't relate from you, doesn't relate from you. Do you understand? Yeah. Doesn't relate from you. But let's look at the reaction of you when caught up in the ego, the reaction of you when motivated by contraction and tension. Yeah. That is defined by you. That's defined by a thought that arises, a feeling that occurs. A person may appear, and that defines you, doesn't it? Defines that reactive sense of personality that claims experience. What we call self-obsession or ego. That's defined by you. But this awareness is not defined by you. So it's transcendent. It doesn't relate from you. It relates from itself as the self. So this is the beginning. This is the beginning. Okay. We find this distinction between awareness and body mind. Okay. And it's permanent. Okay. And you still have your patterns. Still have your patterns. You haven't learned yet, as that awareness, you haven't learned yet. In the beginning, there is just this distinction. And in the beginning, when there is this distinction, you haven't yet learned to come all the way through you. Yeah. You haven't learned yet how that flows through you and how all of what appears comes all the way in to what you are as that awareness. I haven't learned that yet, but we're going to learn that. Because in this early stage, it's like you have this awareness and meditation, but then as soon as you stand up and walk out the door into the world, you lose it. The reaction comes up, and suddenly that old pattern of being defined by what you think and what you feel returns. And in its return, it steals all of your awareness, it takes all of that open awareness, that purity of heart into definition, into qualification, into I activity. Okay, so this must lead us to the second stage. Okay, because if we don't go into the second stage, you're going to remain as a distinction between awareness and the world appearing. You know, you can get caught up in that trap of this is an illusion and it's just this. Okay, you don't want that. Seriously, do not want that. No, 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 no. As awareness, there's more. There's more. Now you've made this distinction. There's more. There's more knowledge to that knowledge that you've just found. This knowledge of permanent abidance. Permanent abidance. There's so much more knowledge to it, to what you are as that awareness. And people say to me, often the question is given to me, you know, I meditate, but I get pulled out. I meditate, I go out, and I get pulled out. Of course you do. Of course you do. Why wouldn't you? You just learned to meditate. You just learned to distinguish awareness from your forms. Now you need to learn to be that. So how do we learn to be that? How do we learn to be that in everything? How do we maintain awareness without any personal inference? And this is the trick, really. Without personal inference, without mental application, without ritual, without getting in the way. You see, without getting in the way. How do you maintain awareness without getting in the way? And of course, the answer is to remain as awareness. You see, okay. But we need to learn that remaining as awareness doesn't mean you're suddenly going to feel good. You're suddenly going to have all your patterns fixed. The whole illusion of separation is going to fall away, and you're going to become transfigured in one moment. It doesn't work like that, you see, unfortunately. So what do we do with awareness on this journey of awareness? Well, what's the next thing? And in the second stage, we then learn to grow up a bit, mature, become more established in that awareness. And what is that next step that takes us just to the next step? What is the information? What is the knowledge one needs? And a knowledge that only applies to awareness, not to any personal inference. And what I mean by personal inference, you know, not you doing it, not you saying, I must stop and be able, I must do this, I must, you know, be whatever. No, it's not given to the mind. What does awareness do? So awareness can distinguish itself from form. Awareness now takes the biggest leap, now that it can distinguish itself. Here as awareness, you take the biggest leap. This is the biggest. It's a huge understanding. And are you ready for it? You are ready for it. You certainly have the capacity. But can you understand as awareness? This is it. Okay. It's almost a decision you make. It's almost like an intention you create in yourself. Okay. Because you're now starting to link awareness with your forms, so that there seems to have to come an intention whereby awareness, you can distinguish that as the backdrop to the foreground, the foreground you don't like. It's crazy, you know, it's not. It's not living in accordance to awareness. You still feel that dichotomy that you can be awareness, but at the same time you can just react like an idiot, you know, in certain circumstances, you know, and you don't know how to overcome it. You don't know how to have these patterns associate. So in the second stage, it's like a decision to allow everything in, to let everything in. What does this mean? Here is where awareness says, I am the source of all experience. Okay, what are we doing there? We're giving experience back to awareness, taking it away from the mind. It's the mind pattern of claiming experience that takes us away from awareness being the source of experience. Okay, so this is quite a big leap. It's quite a big leap, but one that can be done, one that can, as awareness being the knowledge, can be done. It's not a problem. Okay, what is the cost here? The cost is you. Your old way of reacting to your body, where the mind claims experience. So you can imagine you can imagine just how much investment there is. Yeah, you can feel that weight of investment on your shoulders, can't you? You know, just how much you've built in terms of mind claiming the experience, because that itself is a pattern, isn't it? It's a pattern that pulls you away from purity, humility, mercy. So you just learn to distinguish, and now you've kind of set the intention that whatever happens in your person, you will remain the source of experience. What are we doing here? What is going on here? One thing that is happening for sure, you're becoming vulnerable. Okay. Everything starts coming in to the true heart of experience, the source of experience. Okay. This is at this stage, it still doesn't mean you can just walk around, meet people, have disagreements and get triggered. It doesn't mean that suddenly you're just giving all experience to awareness and remaining as awareness. That you'll still get pulled out. Your patterns will still sabotage you, yeah, at times. But you'll just know that when you enter a quiet space or into a quiet room, when after triggering, you can meditate and allow what it was that was ever resistant, whatever it was that was pulling you out, to come to rest, just to come to rest for no one, for no reason, for no inferred meaning of getting comfort, for getting anything. The inferred means start to give way for the direct experience of awareness. This is, you start seeing that the transcendent awareness that doesn't relate from here is the source of experience. So you're beginning to see that everything you feel, everything you see, everything you think, actually at the root of that is this awareness. You're beginning to make that connection between awareness and form. This is very important, to make that connection between awareness and form. As I said in the first stage, often people just remain in awareness, and you know, and the forms will just sort themselves out, whatever. That's fine if that's your way. But here, in the second stage, you learn to sit with whatever is happening in your person, whatever is happening. Sometimes you're not able to sit with it if you're in a high reaction or in a high volatile situation, volatile or exciting, whatever it is, whatever up or down it is. Just become still and turn all of this experience that's claimed by the mind, turn it all over, turn it over. This is the intention, this is the decision, turn it over to awareness being the source of experience. Openness. You'll see this becomes an openness. Awareness is an openness that remains always open despite what is happening, despite what is happening. This is turning over the old habit of claiming it from your mental reaction to tension to this openness that feels very vulnerable, okay? Very vulnerable. This is, one starts to mature. No personal inferred meaning, because remember, any inferred personal meaning, any inferred meaning it's just you thinking. That's the old habit of doership, always wanting to intercede. But the true intercession comes when one remains as awareness. This is where true intercession begins. And it feels so counterintuitive, so ridiculously counterintuitive. When the inferred means of wanting to project onto someone, or this is my boundary, or this is that, and you know all of this stuff we've done with how we maintain our personal boundaries, that maintain personal identity, not just maintain personal identity, actually define personal identity. So we've got this kind of personal inferred means of protecting ourselves, communicating our needs and everything. But at the moment, it's just all caught up in the body. It's all caught up in the mind. So giving it back to awareness in the beginning feels so counterintuitive. It leaves you so open, vulnerable. But if you can distinguish awareness and begin to remain at the source, make that decision to turn it over, the mental claiming, that pattern, to turn it over to awareness being experienced. This is huge. This is huge. Okay, and this is something you can do. This is something that, when I say do, you know what I mean by that. Awareness being the doing of non-doing. So this is the second stage. And if you stay at this second stage, you'll learn the next three stages naturally. Okay, so it's not as if you're acquiring stages here, but at this stage, if you remain at the first stage, just distinguish awareness from form, you won't learn the next four stages. But if you get the second stage, you'll learn the next 3 naturally. You don't even need my instruction. You don't even need to hear what I'm about to say. So this is the most crucial stage of awareness, where you give everything back to what is truly the root source, because the mind is not the root source, but it feels like it, doesn't it? You know, it feels like the mind, not so much the root source, but the mind believes the body is the root source, always reacting to an instinct, always self-will directing the show, claiming that experience of the body. Okay, this is separation. It's because it's separate. It separates itself from the true root source. So we can't understand what separation is. And we know that's an illusion. So we make that decision. Can you make that decision today as awareness? Can you be vulnerable? Can you see how, as awareness, you'll be pulled out to react to tension, to tension that comes from either what you feel within, and how you feel within, how that reaction then goes out to the world. Can you see how one can remain as awareness, being root source, being transcendent, and as that awareness, prior contraction is a softness and openness. It's very vulnerable. Does anyone want to ask questions on that vulnerability? Does anyone